The Buddh International Circuit was an ambitious project that turned into a disaster. It cost $400 million to build, hosted a Formula One Grand Prix from 2011 to 2013, and was abandoned after that. A circuit that is missed by fans, drivers, and would be an addition to the current calendar. Before we start with the races, we have to start at the beginning. With Formula One's hunger for growth and the Indian market being absolutely massive with 1.2 billion people, it was a no-brainer for good old Bernie Ecclestone to get an Indian Grand Prix on the calendar. With a pre-arrangement in 2003 and multiple bureaucratic disasters, it finally came to an agreement in 2007. The circuit would be part of the JP Sports City, a sports complex of 5,000 acres and able to host various sports like cricket, hockey, and you guessed it, a Formula One circuit. It's located in Greater Noida, Uttar Pradesh. The circuit itself, a masterpiece. It has something from Spa, Suzuka, and had the speed from Monza. And I'm almost afraid to say it, but Herman Tilke nailed this design, like he did with the Malaysian Grand Prix. It's a circuit of 5 kilometers, has 16 corners, 3 straights, with the last one being 1.2 kilometers long. The drivers went full throttle for 15 seconds and reached 320 km per hour. But that's not all. The Buddh International Circuit was known for the elevation changes and the roller coaster feeling. With 14 meters of elevation in the first 3 corners, it was a challenge. The sequence of corners from turn 10 to 12 was one of the most notable sections. It had banking and multiple apexes. It showcased the ultimate cornering ability of a Formula One car. The name of this section? Currybolica, a reference to the Parabolica of Monza. But the construction wasn't easy, and it was foreshadowing the future of the circuit. Multiple delays in buying the land, and later, the start of the construction delayed the Grand Prix. The financial crisis did play a part in this. In the meantime, India got their very own Formula One team with Force India. In November 2009, the layout was revealed, and in 2010, they wanted to debut, but it got delayed until 2011. The track was inaugurated on October 18, 2011, just in time for the first Grand Prix on October 30th, and to be honest, it might have been the worst time to host a new Grand Prix. Formula One wasn't as popular as it is now, and with Red Bull Racing and Sebastian Vettel dominating, it could end up in boredom. The first Formula One weekend in India was a success, especially as a stray dog interrupted the first practice session. But okay, back to the video. With the first ever Indian Formula One driver, Nareen Karthikeyan, returning to HRT, fellow Indian Karun Chandhok doing a free practice with Lotus, and an entertaining race, it made it that. But there was a little cloud above it. Last-minute construction issues, power outages, and the paint still drying made it look rushed. Some of the infrastructure wasn't completed, and a colony of bats was still living there. But the circuit itself was a success. Sebastian Vettel was the one to take the first Indian pole position with a 1:24.178 lap time. The 60-lap Grand Prix was also won by the German driver. He led every single lap, finished 8 seconds ahead of Jenson Button, and set the fastest race lap too. While the race was dominated by Vettel, it still had several moments that spiced it up. Turn 1 was chaos. Rubens Barrichello lost his front wing, pushed Kamui Kobayashi off track, and he returned and collided with Timo Glock. At turn 3, home hero Karthikeyan took Jarno Trulli for a spin, but luckily for him, he didn't retire. Hamilton and Massa had a history of battling in 2008. They went for it again in 2011, and with already 5 collisions on the board, they added another one in India. It was lap 24. Hamilton tried to overtake Massa with DRS, moved to the inside, and collision number 6 was born. With 95,000 spectators, nearing the capacity of 110,000, it was a successful debut, as I mentioned before. The BBC covered the event with pre-race cultural features to showcase more of India. It was a display of Formula One's rich glamour and tech, and India's traditional culture and sometimes poverty. In 2012, it was again Sebastian Vettel on top with the pole position and race win. He led the whole race comfortably. The race as a whole, not as exciting as the first edition. The attendance, a dramatic plunge from 95,000 to 65,000 for year 2. While Bernie stated that he wasn't worried and called the country the new China for Formula One, it was worrying. Controversies about the chaotic Indian customs, the organization being in financial trouble, and locals being affected by poor public transport overshadowed the Grand Prix. The 2013 Grand Prix would go down as the end of a short-lived romance between Formula One and India, and for me, it's mostly known for this moment. That has to be one of the most iconic moments of the sport, isn't it? But yes, the pole position and race win were again for Sebastian Vettel. Turn 1 was again a multi-car incident. Mark Webber made contact with Kimi Raikkonen, then collided with Alonso, who made contact with Button. Fernando Alonso's championship hopes were gone after that. And the real highlight, or better said, indicator of the downfall, another drop in spectators, only 60,000 out of a total capacity of 110,000. Before race day, only 40,000 tickets were sold. High ticket prices, a predictable outcome, and the poor public transport all played a part. While the races were good and the circuit was loved, it was the believer of the Indian Grand Prix that announced it would not return for 2014. Very political reasons were the cause of that. It was announced as a sabbatical, but that never happened. Formula One wanted to move the race to March 2015 to combine it with other Asian races. The organization, they didn't want that, but in reality, they couldn't even do it. They were in deep trouble. No government funding, the currency collapsing, and all sorts of bureaucratic obstacles made it near impossible to host a Grand Prix. Let's talk some numbers. With a circuit cost of $400 million to build, hosting fees of $31 million, and all sorts of other costs, they lost $35 million annually. It was a disaster. By 2015, the organization had $11.7 billion debt. And that was not only Formula One's fault with the hosting fees. As a matter of fact, the government was the real problem. They saw the sport as entertainment and heavily taxed it. This made ticket prices unbelievably high for the local citizens. And as a circuit in Asia, back in that era, you needed the locals to succeed. But that wasn't everything. The Indian government went even further and stated that all Indian-sourced income was subject to Indian corporate tax. They argued that the sport had a permanent establishment in India due to teams arriving weeks in advance. And to make it even more complicated, the import and visa procedures were nothing less than hell. Every car, wheel, and even team equipment like laptops needed to go through extensive checks. It was a labyrinth that delayed everything, sometimes even as bad as team personnel arriving just an hour before FP1. And then we have the question I ask myself every time writing a video like this: will the Indian Grand Prix return? And as I said in my Malaysian Grand Prix video, if you ask me, hell yes. Of course, it was dominated by one driver at the time it was held, but don't let that stand in the way of an amazing track. I think that Hamilton, Alonso, and Hülkenberg would support it, and for the new drivers, I do think they'd love it too. The Buddh International Circuit is a real circuit that is nothing short of a challenge, but in reality, it won't return. Formula One seems to not even think about the circuit. Liberty Media bought the sport from Bernie and got an Indian tax issue with it. That got resolved, but it does give a bitter taste. And that's not the only thing. The circuit is nearly abandoned. A handful of races over the recent 12 years not being an FIA Grade 1 circuit, and a MotoGP race in 2023 with the same problems make it a circuit that we can only really enjoy when we rewatch it. There might be a little opportunity with the Indian Formula One market thriving. Since the pandemic, a lot of new fans joined the sport, with a 30% growth over the last 5 years, a growing passion for sim racing, and 2 Indian drivers in Formula 2. It might be interesting. So, here's my proposal for the Indian government. Pay that hosting fee, solve the tax issues, and make sure the locals can attend the Grand Prix. I'm pretty sure it'll be fully booked in this era of the sport. Please, make it happen. Not only is this Grand Prix missed by many, there's another one that deserves to come back, and I want you to know everything about it. It's the Malaysian Grand Prix at the Sepang International Circuit, a circuit I miss every day.